I get a bucket and I put it on my head because the night before a guy got killed from a coconut falling out of a tree. And it's raining and I'm miserable and I have one half of my head shaved. And the German goes, "Hello, my name is Pierre Ression. I am from the Cannes Film Festival and I'm going to offer you a midnight screening of your film Strictly Ballroom." I eventually go to I have my theatre company, I'm doing all sorts of creative things, and I end up at the National Institute of Dramatic Art, which I thought I'd get straight into. You know, it all went horribly wrong when I was graduating from, I grew up in the Herons Creek, and there's an acrimonious divorce, and then I run away, and then I finally find my mother, and I go to this terribly oppressive school, but then I end up at this beach high school, and I thought, right, I was never at school. Like, I just barely graduated. I'm ashamed of the kind of horrendous lies I told about what I was actually doing. You know, I didn't tell the truth about my health, right? Just to skive off because I was doing theatre and blah, 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 blah. And then I didn't actually, like, around graduation time, I thought I visioned I'd go straight into the National Institute of Dramatic Art, but I got rejected. And then I had the single most incredible lucky day of my life, which is on the day that I got the rejection letter, I got a phone call saying, "Oh, you'd auditioned for a film with Judy Davis and you're starring opposite her." So I went like, "Oh, great, back on track." So I could tell Mum actually I had a job, you know. And particularly as I was getting paid $2,000 a week, she went like, "Oh, Baz, what are you going to do? I mean, you know, your fantasy about, you know, being an actor and making movies and things is never going to happen." I said, "Actually, Mum, I've got a job. I'm getting $2,000 a week." Yeah. So that fantasy kept going. But at some stage, I do get into the National Institute of Dramatic Art, and there's an opportunity to devise your own work. Now, by then, I'm kind of deeply steeped in sort of Greek myth. That was my, you know, bellwether. Shakespeare, you know, Joseph Conrad quite a bit, and this idea of primary myth. We had an opportunity to devise our own little show. And I was directing stuff myself anyway. I had a theatre company before I went to NIDA. So I ended up going, I know the world of ballroom dancing. I lived in it as a child. But after the acrimonious divorce, my mother had gone on herself to become a ballroom dancer. So I got my little team to go and secretly spy on my family at ballroom dancing competitions and see it as a kind of metaphor for the world at large, you know, how you put the Greek myth inside this kind of, you know, very common working class theatrical world. The play gets born. I do it, we leave it, I leave drama school, and they asked me, and I go on a tour, we do an extended version in Czechoslovakia, it kind of wins there in Czechoslovakia during Glasnost, and some guy sees the play, and he's got a small theatre film company, he says, "I'd like to buy the rights to it." I say, "Yes, only if I can direct it." How are we going so far?
Good, great.
Then what happens, right, is I say, I'm going to direct it. I do this, now this is the interesting bit. They made me work with a screenplay writer who writes a realist script of Strictly Ballroom. And it's terrible because in the play, I was always reaching back to my early diet of old Hollywood movies to create this kind of metaphor world. I mean, in the play, we used to have these Brechtian devices where we'd sort of turn to the audience and go, we had recordings of like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, and then we sort of turn to the audience and go, "Fuck the Federation," and then go back into character, very Brechtian. Went down a real tree in Czechoslovakia, I can tell you. The Bulgarians loved it, not so much the Russians. Topical, anyway, we took that out, but I realized I had to reach back into this diet of old cinema that I'd grown up on in our movie house, the love of the old musical, the theatrical cinema that was considered cheesy and old hat, and find a kind of, and I hate that expression postmodern, but it's about all I got, a kind of new coding for how to make that work here and now. Now I did it, very theatrical cinematic language. I made that movie. We had one distributor when we made that movie. We screened it for him, and all I remember is Gilbert Bilcock and I, one cinema like this, and there was a great struggle to get the movie made. The lovely producer died on the way. His wife stepped in. She bet all the farm on what she said. My husband knew talent. They had this other band in their label called AC/DC who funded Strictly Ballroom. She said, my husband was a good talent spotter. So we screen it. I throw up. through nerves. I mean, I didn't throw up on the screen or anything. I was outside, and he leaves the cinema and he says, "That is the worst movie I have ever seen, and you have ruined Pat Thompson's career." She plays the mother, all right? Sadly, Pat doesn't find out a year later that she posthumously, because she dies, wins Best Actress that year. We're over. My film career is over. I go up the coast with CM, Catherine Marr, my wife, and Bill Marin, another young designer, and I'm going like, well, this movie thing's not going to work out. So I'm pretty depressed. We're sitting in a van, trailer park, and I had really long black hair, and I'm sort of shaving it off. And then Bill's mum goes, Baz, there's I felt a German. He was French. Baz, there's a German on the phone. And I go and I get a bucket and I put it on my head because the night before a guy got killed from a coconut falling out of a tree. And it's raining and I'm miserable and I have one half of my head shaved. And the German goes, "Hello, my name is Pierre Ression. I am from the Cannes Film Festival and I'm going to offer you a midnight screening of your film Strictly Ballroom. And you only have 1 week to decide because I don't want you to go to another festival. We'll give you this opportunity." I'm standing with a friggin' bucket, the rain and half my hair shaved off. And I go, "You know, Pierre, I think I don't really need a week. I'm there." I go, we screen the movie, it's 12 o'clock at night, and you know in Cannes in those days, you'd know it, Briony, the small theatre, the seats make big noises like plop, plop. Oh my God, what are they going to think? There's only 3/4 full, and then suddenly plop, plop. Oh my God, it's just shit. It's a blur. Suddenly everyone stands up, and all I remember was that the crowd squeezing in on us, and this security guy leans over and he grabs it and he's dragging us out, and they're following us down the Croisette like we're getting crushed. And he says, "Monsieur, from this moment on, your life will never be the same again." And it wasn't. So that's kind of, Strictly Ballroom in a nutshell.
That is a good nutshell.